Welcome back to another edition of Music Monday from the podcast Nurture the Mind. I am your host, Poots, and we have yet again another music reaction. It always feels good when I can get back to doing music reactions. Last week was a little bit different. Had a spur of the moment idea and decided to make a video that was dedicated to one of my clients, one of my former personal training clients at Anytime Fitness that passed away back in March. And now we are back to doing music reactions. And it always feels good because this is the bulk of what I do on my channel. I realized at some point when I started doing music reactions that typically music reactions, they get the most views, they get the most engagement in terms of the content that I post on YouTube, but also for audio purposes doing my podcast. So today we are introducing a new artist to the channel. I have literally never heard of this group, but they keep popping up, especially when I go to YouTube. I keep seeing this group. They're called Sistr, and it looks like there are 3 girls that are a part of this band. And I don't know why, just like the thumbnail for their videos always looks intriguing. It always catches my eye. They're playing instruments. I'm just kind of intrigued. Like I said, I've never heard of them. I don't know how long they've been around. I mean, they look pretty young. So this could be a new group that's on the rise. So today we're going to listen to the song Maniac from Sistr, and the official music video for this song came out on March 31st of this year, so it's been a little bit over a month. I wonder if this is part of a bigger project. Have they dropped an album? Do they have one album? I guess I could answer a lot of my own questions if we just go to Apple Music real quick. Before we dive into this song and music video, what do we have on Sistr? And the way they spell it is cool too. There's no ER, it's just SISTR. Yeah, so they don't have any albums out. This is just all singles for the most part. And maybe they have an EP. Looks like they might have an EP. Let's see here. Singles and EP. Single, 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 EP, single, 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 single. Yeah, they don't even have an album. All they have is one EP, which was back in 2020. Everything else has been singles, but maybe they're gearing up towards the release of an album. Do we have a description on this band? No, we do not have a description. Well, interesting. We don't have much to run off of. Let's just see what happens, right? Sistr, Maniac.
Told me about the girls you
was a really quick hitter at, I don't even know how long that was. Let's go back here. That's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It goes by really, really quick. But what I can say right off the bat is for these three girls, man, they fucking rock out. I mean, there's only three instruments, and then there's the singing. You have the drums, you have the bass, and then you have a guitar. But man, they fucking rock out for three girls. I will say that. I think it sounded really pleasant, instrumental wise, and then like the singing as well. And they are just very energetic and sort of grungy a little bit. I mean, maybe not like a full grunge type of sound, but they all look pretty young. I will say that. And so I feel like they just have this young angst, teenage energy that we've all had before, especially when we were teenagers, especially when we were growing up. And she is talking about a relationship, or maybe it didn't get to a relationship, but a guy that she was dating or talking to, and they're laying in bed naked, and he's confessing how there's all these other girls that he should have gotten with, and then she's like, fuck you, and she writes on his car or whatever, and she's like, what else am I supposed to do? Sounds like something that is definitely not healthy. And then basically, the title of the track is Maniac, but you hear it repeated throughout the song that he's an egotistical maniac or something like that. There's actually lyrics here on YouTube, so I'm going to run through them. I'm going to read them real quick. Sharpie marker on your white Mercedes. Oof, it's not good on a white Mercedes to leave a mark like that. You told everyone I'm crazy, but what else was I supposed to do? Told me about the girls you wish you dated while I'm lying with you naked. Memorize the posters in your room. Oh my God. That's a crazy line right there. Memorize the posters in your room. I didn't even catch that on the first listen. If you really sit back and you really analyze that lyric, I resonate with that. I'm thinking of, the high school relationship that I was in with my high school sweetheart, which here recently in a music reaction, I talked about it on the channel. And, she was really big into a bunch of different bands, definitely like the pop punk genre, alternative, a bunch of those different bands. And so growing up in high school, anytime I would go over to where she lived, her apartment with her mom here in town, in her room, she had a bunch of posters. I mean, her walls were just covered with posters. And I can now, even all of these years later, at 29 years of age, I can think of some of the posters that she had in her room and where they were placed, and then like other items that she had. She had this piggy bank that she was obsessed with. The lights that she had hung up. That's just a crazy line right there. Like, I haven't really thought about it that way, but if you date somebody, if you talk to somebody, and you go over to their place enough times, is like a lot of those items in there are going to be seared into your memory. You are not going to be able to forget them. And I think it makes a difference depending on if it's an early relationship. Again, these girls look really young, and so they're probably at a point in their lives where they're having a lot of their first relationships or their first heartbreaks. And not to say that like later on in life, if you go through something like that, like a relationship, uh it falls apart, there's a heartbreak, like that would still impact you a lot at those later years in life. But I just really believe in the beginning when you have your first heartbreak, your real first heartbreak, it just hits you so much harder because you've never experienced anything like that. We've all had that, right? If you've been in love, or if your first relationship, or back in high school, whatever, that first breakup with somebody that you actually loved and you spent a lot of time with, it really feels like the world is coming to a close. It feels like the world is ending, and it hurts so bad, but then you move on at some point. You just think in that moment in time, I'm never going to get through this. So, seems like that's what they're describing, that's what they're going through, is maybe one of those first initial heartbreaks that life requires you to go through as a young person if you're putting yourself out there. And if you're dating people, some people don't. Some people are afraid to do that. It's actually really crazy, but like 2 or 3 weekends ago, I went on a first date with a girl off of one of the dating apps. I'm not going to say her name. I don't know if she would watch this video or absorb my content. I mean, we don't even follow each other on social media, but on our first date, I was asking her about her relationship experience over the years. Had she been in any serious relationships? Just like give me like a little snippet or whatever. And I'm 29 and she's 30, so a year older. And she said that she had never been in a relationship before. And I'm like, 30 years? I mean, you're like a full blown adult at 30 for sure, even if some people don't act like it. I'm like, 30 years? And yet no relationship whatsoever? I mean, I can understand people that get to like 21 and they still haven't had a relationship. Like that's okay. Like you're really young. Some people, it just doesn't work out when you're in high school. But I'm like, I've had two long-term relationships in my life. And then I've had other relationships outside of that, but maybe none of them amounted to anything long term. I don't know. If you're just playing like the law of averages, by the time you reach 30, I would think you've at least been in a relationship, and there's probably a really good chance that you've had at least one serious relationship. So that was really odd when I learned that. Say that you'll never love me, or wait, say that you'll love me forever, and don't you ever take it back. You egotistic maniac, you egotistic maniac said I need an attitude adjustment, but I think you kind of love it when I scream at you in public. Man, I hope that never happens in any of my relationships moving forward. I don't want to scream at my person in public. That would be terrible. Because if I don't call you, oh my God, I'm getting the lyrics twisted. Because if I don't call, you're gonna show up, aren't you, baby? And if I don't leave, how will you want me back? You egotistic maniac, you egotistic maniac. You call me pretty, it's a trap. See me crying and you laugh. You just like to make me sad and it's over. There's actually not a lot of lyrics to this song. And I mean, that's because it is so short. Oh, there's a little snippet on here on YouTube about Kid Sistr. Kid Sistr is an all woman indie pop rock trio known for their bright, guitar driven, ear candy sound, blending alternative rock and pop punk. Formed in 2017 by Sable Angler, guitar and vocals, Sarah Keaton, bass and vocals, and Rebecca Webster, drums. They are based in LA and focus on themes of girlhood, angst, and infatuation. Well, they definitely have the angst and then infatuation, like this song, like being infatuated with somebody which is always a hard one to balance, right? Like, again, just talking about experience. And if you've had enough experience, there have been times where, like, I actually liked somebody for their personality and it was healthy and it was vibrant. And then on top of that, you had the physical attraction to them, and you're like, all right, like, this is something to pursue. And then there have been times where it's like, I was just completely infatuated with somebody. And I think that there should be physical attraction, but it can't bleed over into I am infatuated with this person. That is a place where it becomes super unhealthy and unproductive. And why is it that the ones that you are infatuated with and you're just drawn to them like a magnet, it tends to be a lot of times that those ones are the ones that are really bad for you. Because with the infatuation and being so attracted to somebody, a lot of times you're going to overlook the red flags or the areas of caution where you should slow down, because you're just blinded so much by how attractive they are. I know that there is always exceptions, but there's certain stigmas that exist for a reason. It's like, why is it that all the fucking hot bitches could be incredibly crazy? And guys and girls do this on both sides, but they find somebody that's super fucking hot and then they just ignore everything. It's like, oh my God, they're just so fucking hot and I just want to get into them and I just want to bite them. And it's like, okay, I get that. But like she even highlights in her lyrics, like, look at the damage that this guy has done to her. And maybe it's reciprocated on her end. Maybe they're doing it to each other. She's calling this guy egotistical maniac, and yet, maybe they feed off of each other. A lot of times in relationships, we want to blame the other person. And it's like, well, how are you contributing to that? And there's that age old saying that I feel like applies in a lot of different situations, which is there's always two sides to the story, and then there is the truth. The truth typically is somewhere in the middle. And it's really crazy that we're talking about relationships today because actually, today's Sunday, May 10th, and it's 10:20 in the morning. So I'm getting my shit done early. I'm getting better at doing shit earlier in the day, especially on the weekends. I just feel better when I get things done, like get to my power list, get my critical tasks done, and then I have basically the rest of the day, large portions of the day, to just relax, chill, do whatever I want to. And with those things, then I feel like I can be truly present. And I'm really trying to work on decreasing overstimulation. That's something that I work on a lot. And I'm not always successful. I've gotten away from a lot of social media apps. The only one I have now is Instagram. I only checked it today because I made a photography post on there on my business page. And then I have the one dating app, Hinge, which I just don't want to check those things as much. Like, I have those two and that's it. But I even now want to get to the point on the weekends where maybe I don't check either one of those for the full 2 days and see what that does for my brain. Because I'm not on my phone a lot, but just like everybody else out there, like, I'll still go back and I'll check my phone, maybe just a little bit too much throughout the day. And I just think that constant checking, the context switching, what it does to our brains is very unforgiving and very lethal. And so my objective today on Sunday is to get all my things done early, but really just get away from all of that as much as I can and see how my brain starts to recover. But it's weird that we're talking about relationships and kind of going down this rabbit hole. I'll just give the example because I feel like it totally applies. I've talked about on this channel the worst relationship that I was ever in. And no, that was not the relationship that I had with my high school sweetheart. Although at the end of that relationship, it was pretty tough. But I wouldn't say it rose to the level of toxic or, really doing a damage to me mentally. I mean, I was pretty upset. I was pretty frustrated the last year that we were together and then ultimately when we split up. But my other serious long term relationship, off and on for 2.5 years, is the one that really did a number on me. And that came some years after me and my high school sweetheart had broken up. Probably, yeah, maybe like 2 years after we broke up, then I met this other girl. And I don't know. I don't really try to check in on my exes, like go look at their social media accounts. I follow my high school sweetheart on Instagram and she follows me back. We're at a good place now. I mean, she lives in Seattle, so she's not even close. But with her, like we were always a part of the same friend group before we dated. Like all of our friends back in high school all hung out with each other. And so I think that's why it was a little bit easier to rebound with her. Now, don't get me wrong, like it took a lot of time to get to that place and to accept that and even like want to be friends with her again, acquaintances or whatever. I don't really check in on exes. But I was earlier this morning, before I made it over here to Simpson campus to record and do stuff, for whatever reason, every once in a while, I'll be like, oh, you kind of think like, I wonder what that ex is doing, or like, I wonder what they're up to. And so I looked up the one ex, the really bad relationship that I was in, and I saw that she had created a YouTube channel. So I was like, oh, interesting. So I click on the YouTube channel, and her guy, which she is now married to this guy, they are traveling at least the United States. They started out like living in a car and now they've upgraded to a van and they're posting content and basically being like influencers and whatnot. And I was just like, it didn't hurt. Like I'm obviously it's been such a long time, so I'm over things. But I think the thing that really got to me is like I look at her YouTube page. She has way less videos than what I've posted, and yet she has more subscribers. And then I go to her husband's YouTube page, and he's got like a shit ton, like over 50,000 subscribers, and he's got way less videos that he's posted than I have. And I could just see it all kind of turning inside of me, like getting like upset, bitter, resent. I don't know to even describe all of the emotions associated with what I was experiencing because I've been doing my podcast and my YouTube channel since 2020, or like January of 2020. So 6 years. And yet I still have less subscribers than those two, which we shouldn't compare in life. What do they say? Comparison is the thief of joy, and it can be in so many circumstances. Sometimes you do have to compare yourself to other people to be like, okay, this is what they're doing, this is what I'm not doing. I could be doing something similar to that to hopefully produce a similar result. I guess what I could say is I've never made this like a full-time thing. I've never like fully invested in it because the whole time I've been doing the podcast and the YouTube channel, I was going to school at that point in time, so finishing up my education. I was working, and then the jobs that I've had after that. So I've never poured into it full time. But then, like, I had a realization too, is like they're posting content about, being in their mid 20s and going around the US in a car and now a van, and like that's their life. And you see a lot of those videos on YouTube that become really popular. I used to watch videos like that, people that were doing a similar thing. I think it's a really appealing lifestyle, and I want to give my ex and her husband a lot of credit. Like, I think it takes a lot of courage to go do something like that, but they've only been posting, maybe since sometime last year when they made this transition, when they made this shift. And that's just a whole different style of content. Like, what I do is music reactions and podcasts. I have never done a video like that because that's not the life that I'm living. I get why they're doing it. I watched a little bit of some of the videos or recent videos that they had posted, and it's like they were trying to counteract the rat race that we all live in, where everybody is working for a paycheck, but yet everything is getting more expensive. The prices are going up, rent is going up. And so in these videos, they got out of their apartment and then made this shift. And I've tried to combat that same issue, but I'm going about it in a different way, which is I moved back to my parents' house so I could hopefully pay off my student loans in a very timely fashion. And I've made a lot of progress on that. I've got my student loans down significantly since I moved into my parents' house. It was last June. It was June 1st of 2025. And so, like I said, I don't really check on those things. But for whatever reason today, I had the curiosity and I did. And then by the information that I found out, then I kind of had this negative reaction. And so I don't know how this all fits into this music reaction, but this group of young girls, angst, infatuation, you know, what infatuation can lead to. It can be deadly, it can be lethal in so many circumstances. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I mean, I never know what I'm trying to say when I'm doing these music reactions. You have to be really careful with who you choose to settle down with. I don't hate that person that I was with as much harm as they did me. You know, a lot of times, like, you'll see an ex and then you see that, they're happy with somebody else. I would say, like, at least three girls that I dated or I talked to in the past have now gone off and gotten married. And so sometimes you sit back and you're like, man, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I not married? At 29. And I think, like, in this particular case, all the things that happened between us, and just how difficult it was for me to be with her at that point. She was young. She's like 3.5 years younger than me or something like that. So when we were exploring our relationship, I was like 21, 22. So she was, not even in her 20s. And so I think a lot of it was immaturity on her part, but nonetheless, like, it impacted me a lot mentally. Not sure if, she was trying to play games intentionally or if it was an unintentional thing. If it was unintentional, it could have been the whole immaturity thing. I just didn't know what she was doing. But yeah, I don't hold on to those things. But it is interesting how go do a search, go explore a little bit from your past and see how that makes you feel. I think I'm fully over it, but you could be fully over a situation and still carry a little bit of that baggage. I think that's inside all of us. And I don't know how you fully eradicate those things. Like living at my parents' house. Now that I'm back around my mom and my dad, although I enjoy for the most part being there, and I'm very thankful for them and them allowing me to come back, I never had a great relationship with my dad growing up. It was always complicated, it was always weird. And when I moved out on my own and I got my own apartment and I lived in that apartment for nearly 5 years, I saw that my relationship with my entire family, including my mom, my dad, and my brother, all of those relationships improved. And I think it's because I was able to get away and then I could come back whenever I wanted to. And now that I'm back at the house, I'm around it again more often. So I get annoyed a little bit more. I can't, and I don't want to say like the relationships have fallen apart. They haven't fallen apart, but they've taken a step back because now I'm back in the environment full time. I get frustrated. I get annoyed. You know, me and my dad, we've gone back to a place of not really talking when we're around each other, and that was the case for a long time. I don't know how to talk to him. We can only talk about certain things, you know, like sports, and that's our connection area. And I think that's okay. I think that's fine. I don't know. These are things that I think about. I just did a music reaction, but it's turning into just ruminations and what's going on in my head, which I think that's healthy too, right? You know, I enjoy doing this, and at times as well, it's really turned into an outlet for me. Like I haven't been going to therapy consistently in a long time. I've gone to therapy here and there over the last year and a half. And the recent therapist that I was seeing, this female, and she was cool. I mean, I don't think we worked together long enough to like really establish a relationship or that rapport, but something, an observation that she had that I actually thought was kind of mind-boggling that I had never thought about before is, you know, when it comes to doing the podcast and the YouTube channel and speaking on camera, recording these items, it is passion. It is something that I enjoy to do, but another thing that I had never considered before that she brought to my attention in one of the therapy sessions is, you know, because one of my biggest pet peeves in life is getting interrupted by people. As you guys can see, like on this video, like when I'm talking and I'm thinking, I'm exploring all of the possibilities, all of the avenues. That can lend itself towards being an overthinker. On the positive side of that, that's me being who I am, which is a deep thinker. I think deeply about things. I don't go to surface level. I go below the surface, and I go there right away. And so, if I got things that I need to iron out in my own head, I can't be interrupted. I need to like process it and talk about it out loud and work it out in my mind for it to make sense. And so when people interrupt me, it really throws off my whole mojo, my whole rhythm, my whole thing. And you know, one observation that that therapist had made was maybe another reason why you do this and you enjoy doing it is it's just you and the camera, it's just you and the microphone, and there's nobody around that can interrupt you. And I'm like, yeah, didn't even think about that. But that's totally a possibility. And I don't think I isolate myself all the time or like unnecessarily, but when it's the weekend and I'm not working, I like to spend the majority of those 2 days on my own, doing my own thing. which would make it hard to get back into a relationship if it were to present itself to me or to materialize, but I'm sure that I could adjust at some point if it's the right person. I don't know, man. We're all trying to figure this thing out. This weird thing called life. And it doesn't always make sense. I know I went all over the place. That's my specialty. At the end of the day, that was a really good song. Listening to that song makes me want to check out this group even more. They need to come out with an album, man. They just got singles and they got an EP. They need an album, which that single we just listened to dropped at the end of March. I don't know, maybe this year they're going to roll out an album. And it's crazy. Like, so it said on there they've been a group or whatever since 2017. I'm like, 9 years later, and we haven't really heard from them. They haven't had an album in 9 years. I mean, to the thing that I was just saying, doing podcasting, YouTube, making content for 6 years and not getting that subscriber count up. You can't, I've never invested in it full time. So how can I even make that comparison when I look at my ex and her husband? Number one, the content that they're making, that's a whole different type of content, very appealing because I think everybody would love to like quit their job and live in a van, live in a car and travel around America or whatever. Like that's very appealing. That's like creating a fantasy realm for people when they watch that type of content. It's like they're kind of like escaping, like they're living in that fantasy. They're living vicariously through that person who's doing that. But like I don't know if I could ever do something like that, and I certainly could not produce content full time, like the content that they're producing. And now that they're on the road, and I don't know if they're doing like remote jobs or what, but doing YouTube, like they kind of have to make content because maybe that's the only way that they're getting paid is through YouTube. So many things that go into that, and we as humans, we just compare ourselves endlessly, and just a lot of times it turns out to be really unhealthy. But yeah, I mean that's that's the reaction, that's the analysis. I don't know how much of that I'm going to keep in the actual video or podcast. Guys, that's the end. I enjoyed the song. Feels like it was so long ago that I just remember like the instrumental being really hypnotizing, but the lead singer, the vocals, like she sounded really good. A good blend with the instruments as well. But the thing that I remember the most is the instruments, and then the subject matter. Her being very upset with this guy and what he did to her in their relationship or whatever they were. But guys, that's it. That's the reaction. That's the review. As always, if you're new to the channel, there's 4 things that I ask that you do. You don't got to do all 4, but please do one of the 4. Number 1, like the video. Number 2, subscribe to the channel. Number 3, comment in the comment section below. And number 4, share this content via social media or word of mouth with another person. Basically, if you do one of those 4 things, you're doing me a solid and you're helping me grow my channel and my message. And basically, if you got value, if you enjoyed this, if you thought it was entertaining, whatever, if it wasn't a waste of your time, that's all that I ask. It's a value exchange. If I provide that value, you do me a solid. And that's a fair trade. So, guys, thank you so much for coming over to the channel. Love you guys, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.